Hi, I'm Lauren Eirk from FitnessIntegratedScience.com. If you're somebody that has a difficult time bending forward, maybe doing a weighted exercise like a deadlift or just bending over and picking something up without pain in your shoulders and your back, I'm going to show you some things you can do to strengthen your muscles progressively to eliminate that. Now, on my platform, Fitness Integrated Science TV, I call this the 5-step cycle of muscle maintenance. And this cycle goes continuously from isolation work to integrated work, progressively adding more and more resistance as appropriate. This cycle is meant to be just that, a cycle of how our muscles actually work. Our muscles actually turn on and off all the time. And so our goal is to, number one, find where our weak links are whenever we look at any exercise, and number two, eliminate them through our strength training exercises. So let's take the idea of a backward bend. The first thing I want to look at is, can I hold my shoulders on my back, and can I support trunk extension? Because when I bend over and gravity is sitting on top of me, if these muscles aren't strong enough to hold me up, certainly if I was holding something in my hands, I'm going to have direct pressure in my lower back. So let's begin with what I call an isolation isometric. I want to begin by coming down onto the mat, and I'm just going to use the sponge ball, but you could certainly use a pillow or a rolled up towel. And I want to work on this idea of bringing the shoulders into the back first. Coming down onto the side, placing this ball right beside my body, I'm just going to take my hand right up against the ball. Both of my shoulders are pressing down against the ground. From here, I want you to lightly press your arm into the ball, but then also squeeze your shoulder blade behind you and just focus on drawing that shoulder into the back. We're going to hold this anywhere from 5 to 6 seconds with no shaking or trembling, and then release and relax. Let's try that again. Driving the shoulder blade into the floor, let's very lightly press the arm into the ball and contract that shoulder blade into the back, holding that anywhere again from 5 to 6 seconds. And this should feel good, by the way. You should have no pain. And then release it. As you're doing this, you're going to notice that each time it feels a little bit easier. And so we have this tendency to want to push a little harder. But I caution you, right now we're just trying to teach those muscles to perform for us. And then exhale. Now, once we've done those on the right and left side, we're ready to go to our next progression, which is a little bit more of an integrated isometric. So if I'm lowering down on my belly, you can see that now for me to do this, I'm actually going to bring in some of my spinal extensors. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to keep this ball next to my waist. I'm still going to press into the ball with my arm, but now I'm working against gravity to squeeze my shoulder blade into my back. From there, if you like, add trunk extension. So look at how many muscles right now are having to contract just to hold this position. I have my rear delts, I have a lot of my scapular retractors, I'm dealing with my spinal extensors and my hips just to hold this position, and then exhale. And you will see, quite honestly, that you're only going to be as strong as your weakest link. So again, I'm starting off getting that shoulder in, pressing into the ball, then I'm lifting my chest, squeezing into the glute and just holding that there, trying not to jam up my back. And then exhale, bringing that back down. Rest there for anywhere from 2 to 3 seconds, depending on how you feel. Then as you go back up into it, I'm going to reset the shoulder blade, lightly press into the ball, and just hold this. Typically in an isometric, you want to make sure that you're not using a ton of force, because we're trying to get the muscle to retain the same length, right? That's the definition of an isometric. And we can actually build muscle with isometrics. They also reduce pain, improve our range of motion, and really improve joint stability. And then exhale. Now, after we've done those a few times, maybe this has been going on for weeks, in fact, we're ready to do some of our moving things, which these are going to be very similar to what you would see in many body weight exercises like calisthenics. So beginning with both of our arms down by the sides, tucking the chin, we just practice coming into the position and then exhale, bringing that down. And while I'm doing this, I'm pinching my shoulder blades together and then coming back down. And then as I get stronger, I may be able to now add the hips just a little bit. So squeezing into the glutes, for instance. And certainly if I'm going to be bending forward, I want to make sure that I am bringing in those hamstrings, those glutes, all of those hip extensor muscles, because they're going to be sitting right in back, monitoring how I'm bending over. Let's go a couple more times. And you can see with all these variations, I could even add lever length changes, such as taking the hands behind the head. Maybe I want to take the legs out of it for now and just focus on doing this. And that alone is really going to bring about a lot of strengthening and a lot of integrating with muscles contracting over and over. From there, I move into my next step, which is actually adding load. Now, anytime we add load, we may have to sacrifice range of motion, but quite honestly, adding load is going to be one of the most important things that we can do when we're thinking about bending over and picking up heavy objects. All right, so I start off here on all fours because the floor is actually creating a lot of support for me. Then as I pick up the weight, I can practice retracting my scapula first. That might be a great exercise. And my back muscles are having to work really hard just to be able to do this. That becomes into what we might call a bent over row. And you can feel that when that weight comes off the ground, wow, am I really feeling muscles supporting me in my lower back? Now, as I got stronger, I could actually stabilize a little bit better. I might want to come into more of a standing position. So now whenever I'm here and I go back into that bent over row, I'm not only dealing with my shoulders, I'm dealing with a lot more work in my lower back. So either coming into an alternating position, which I had to do on the ground, or moving at the same time, trying to work hard to stabilize so that my body is perpendicular to the force line of gravity, which means I'm going to have to be flat to the ceiling for the back of my shoulders to work. So as I'm doing this and I'm moving my weight, I am doing the exact same principles that I learned in my first isolated isometric, which is to bring that shoulder blade onto the back. But I'm correlating that through with also holding myself up. Now from there, as I move into more and more integration work, I can even add some instability, such as working with the ball. Taking one hand onto the ball while I do that one arm row introduces some dynamic movement here with the ball, and I have to work harder to be able to hold myself still. I could even add that same thing that we did on the belly when we actually were coming into a backward bend and a cobra situation with body weight and lifting one leg, but wow, much, much harder on a ball. At the end of all of this, as we've been working through these 5 steps, what's happening is that our muscles are becoming more and more tolerant over time to handle different types of stress. So later on, as we're going into our hip hinging motions, let's say we're picking up a heavy object and we have to bend over and then stand back up. We're going to be much more equipped to go through some of those exercises like the Romanian deadlift. So I hope that helps. If you'd like more information about that type of methodology, I do have a free newsletter that I send out every week. If you want to sign up using the link below, I'd love to send it right into your inbox. And I also have an entire platform called Fitness Integrated Science TV. If you'd like more information about different types of workouts, education, and programs, the link is below. Lastly, if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that indications bell so that you will have indicators of whenever we put out new content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.